everybody. Today is Friday, September 6, 2019, episode 10 of the Amnicon Studio podcast. Welcome back. I have spent the last 20 minutes trying to get ready to record. The box that I used to set my computer on is no longer around, so I was trying to find the right kind of level that you could still, still kind of see outside and still see me. And lighting, I hope the lighting is okay. Jitters. I can't even think of the word for stage fright. Stage fright. I have stage fright. It's been long enough that I'm a little nervous and thankfully not deer caught in the headlights on the camera. So I wrote show notes. I have a few things to share with you. I'm not going to share everything that I usually share for this first one back. I thought I would stick with the fiber related stuff and maybe mention the book that I'm going to start reading and a couple other things. Those will fall under the coffee talk, which I didn't write much for under the coffee talk. See, I only have one page of notes. And I have hot chocolate in my coffee mug because I can. Although it has been so long since I first made it that it's almost cold. Okay, first thing, I have made quite a few things since the last time I recorded, but I don't want to inundate with all the stuff, so I'm just going to show the last two things that I finished. Which, the first thing, you shouldn't be surprised, it's a pair of vanilla socks. Blue. Oh. These are vanilla socks in my own pattern. I see I forgot to trim off one little piece off the cuff, which I will do that when I'm done with these. I've had these done for quite a while, but I didn't want to wear them until I showed them on the podcast. The yarn is Knit Picks Felice yarn. Surprise, surprise. The colorway is called Surf's Up. Let's see if I've got the label. Surf's Up. Knit on US ones, 2.5 millimeters. And these ones, I don't have a start date, I don't have a finish date. I kind of went pretty loosey-goosey there for the last however many months. I just wasn't keeping track of any of that stuff, just working on things when I could. And these I made, let's see. I decided I was going to keep really good notes with these and come up with my own vanilla sock recipe for myself. This is something that I've been trying to do for several years and I never quite get exactly what I want. And then for so much of my sock knitting career I was doing the afterthought heels, and I've started going back to the heel flap, which I decided fits my foot a lot better and just makes me happier. So these were made, let me pull up my notes. I started these on July 13th. I cast on, 64 stitches, 15 rows of 1x1 ribbing. I knit the leg until it was 7 inches. Made the heel flap, turned the heel, and then I made the foot of the sock and decreased for the toe. These socks was the first time I used something called the sock ruler. Now I've heard about these for a while, and I decided if I wanted to be as accurate as possible, I would just go ahead and order myself a set of these. And I don't normally buy myself gadgets, although I'm sure some in this house would tell you otherwise. but, but I mean, this is just, you know, you could do this with a ruler or a tape measure or anything, but I got so tired of kind of, nothing was ever the same. There was no accuracy in my measuring, so I decided to go ahead and get this and give it a try. And I outlined my foot and I measured and knit the foot to the point where it said, and I'll say it didn't seem right. I thought, I'm going to trust the measurements, even though this seems way too long. And I decreased the toe, and I've started doing Kitchener toes. Even when I first started knitting socks, I used to just do the decreases down and then get down to the 4 stitches and then knit off. And now I Kitchener, because I've really liked how that end product is, and I'm getting better at Kitchenering too. And anyway, so I finished the first sock and I tried it on, and it is the best fitting sock that I have ever knit for myself. So I am sold on the sock ruler, even though it's such a gadget. I highly recommend it for everybody. If you are a sock knitter, to go ahead and get them. My next thing is I'll be trying from the toe-up socks and do the measurements for that and see how that turns out. 'Cause I haven't made many toe-up socks in my sock knitting career, and I've got at least one book of sock knitting patterns, plus however many patterns I have printed out for them. I'm getting better at, well, I know Kat Bordy has, what is it? I think it's Kat Bordy has the one way for saying Judy's Magic Cast On, but I cannot sit through that video and do the motions because I don't do well with the storytelling that she likes to do in her videos. My mind tends to wander. So I've just been doing the Turkish cast on, which is really easy, and I don't know why anybody would want to try anything else, but that's just me. It's what works for my brain right now. So let's see. And then the second thing that I finished is a easy half circle shawl from the Lion Brand website. I used Shawl in a Ball yarn and the Wind Chimes colorway, size 8 needles, 5 millimeters. And I actually just pulled this off the I just took it off blocking. This is the first thing that I've made out of acrylic yarn that I took the time to block. And normally I wouldn't do that, but I have been watching a lot of Jada and Stitches. In one of the last episodes that I watched, she said she was talking about how she blocks her stuff, and she knits with 99% acrylics. Well, you know, when she knits, she hardly works with wool. And I thought I would give this a try, and I think it turned out really nice. Although you can see, I was working on this the same time I was working with the socks, and I'm kind of done with blue now. I need a break from the blue. But I chose this yarn. I'm a sucker. It's got a little bit of sparkle in it. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up. But I also made a pattern. It was supposed to be a shawl, and it ended up being a scarf on the loom out of this yarn. And I love how it turned out. It's really lovely and soft, and just that little bit of sparkle, but I hated working with it on a loom. So I don't recommend using it as a warp, just a weft. And well, let's see, I haven't even tried it on yet, so I don't know how low it goes. Oh yeah. Oh. So that's the first time I'm putting it on. That would be something good for winter time if I needed to go somewhere and it needed to be dressy. Oh, and noises, if you hear any background noises, that's because the baby roosters are out. If you hear any music or talk, it's because we have the radio on for them. Yes, we turn the radio on for our birds when we're out at work because they're spoiled. There. So, and then works in progress. I wanted to get this stuff done, kind of take a little break before I started working on anything else, because I have a few in my mind epic projects to work on this winter, and just kind of wanted to clear the cache before I started diving in. First thing, I am making, okay, this is something that is pretty old. I don't know if many people remember the social media called Plurk that became a thing, I think, about 10 years ago. Let's see, 2008, so 11 years ago. Okay. It kind of became a thing. A bunch of knitters rushed over to it and started working with it. It was kind of a hybrid of Twitter and Facebook. Like, you could post an update and people could post on it and you could have conversations. And there was a timeline, and of course, when I first started on it, I didn't really understand what was going on. I'd see the conversations, but I couldn't see how to be a part of them. So anyways, a few designers got on it too, and Wendy Johnson, WendyKnits.net, she whipped together a sock pattern really quick. And as far as I know, it's still free on her website. It's called Nanner Socks. She's got 3 different sizes for it. And back when that was a thing, I had some bear yarn from Knit Picks, and I dyed it yellow to make these socks with it. There was a podcaster / indie designer who kind of capitalized on the Plurk thing at the time, and honestly I don't even remember what the bananas were all about, but this designer or dyer had colorways. It was just like fresh bananas, green bananas, old bananas, stuff like that. And I thought, hey, I have yarn and dye, I'm going to try dyeing up some stuff. And I did, and it's almost eye-searing. Look at this. And this has been in, oh boy. I don't know if that showed up on the screen, but it just completely changed the color of my video. Anyways, I've had this for a really long time, since then, so it's really old stuff, and I decided I was finally going to start working with it and make these socks. So I've got the toe of one started, and it's yeah, I just made the toe and I stopped with it. I figured, don't get ahead of myself here. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty proud of this one because the corners aren't goofy. And the second thing that I started this week is the Leah pattern off of Knitty.com. And this was from Deep Fall 2010. So it's another old pattern. I decided I'm finally going to make the things that I wanted to make way back when. And if you remember, I had ordered yarn from Knit Picks from this sometime last year. It is, let's see if that will show up. The colorway is Garnet Heather. And I originally, way back when, wanted to make this in black yarn. And when I went to look for yarn for this project, I decided maybe that wasn't let's go with something different. I've got this much done, which is about 3 inches. This is my first real sweater, because the last thing that I tried making was a cardigan out of acrylic yarn, which it turned out beautiful when I first made it and is gradually stretched out, and I will not wear it out of the house. I wear it to sleep and that's about it. It looks terrible, so I thought it was time for me to make myself a grown-up sweater out of grown-up materials. Okay, that sounded really snobby, and I'm sorry, but if I'm going to take the time to make a second one, I want to make it out of something that I can shape and is not going to stretch out and stay that way. Although with superwash, I am a little nervous that once this gets wet, it's going to grow, because I've heard superwash does that. And I am totally winging this pattern. I didn't make a gauge swatch, even though I've been watching blueprint classes lately on knitting sweaters, and they talk about the importance of gauge swatches. I'm just flying footloose and fancy free and thinking that if on the off chance the yarn does grow, it'll be okay. So if it's coming out a little small, that's all right. My only concern, and I've looked at the pattern for this, the pattern pictures, and I've looked at pictures of other people's Leah sweaters. You can see through this. And I don't know if that's good or bad. It looks like you can see through the sweater in that pattern picture. And I have measured my stitches on this because I figured I had enough inches to go to take a measurement. And I'm not pulling on it or anything, I'm just letting it lay down straight. And it's supposed to be 10 stitches for 4 inches, and that's what I'm getting. There's a little bit of fudge in there. I can't remember. It's like 10.4 inches or something. 10.4 stitches for 4 inches. And actually, I've already decided that if this doesn't fit the way it should, I have no problem with ripping it out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Or I might decide that, even if it doesn't fit absolutely perfectly, it'll just be another thing to wear in the house only. But in the meantime, I am excited to work on it. I cast on 2 days ago for this, maybe, and it's just flying. Well, it feels like that anyways. Alrighty. So those are those things. Next thing is spinning. I got the spinning bug in July. It bit me pretty hard. I participated in Tour de Fleece, and I had fiber that I thought was going to take me the whole tour to spin up, and I actually ended up finishing that first week maybe. So then I let my bobbins rest and applied everything together, as I thought that was going to be enough fiber to spin for a sweater, and that was not the case. It was a little disappointing because I had that fiber in stash for at least 5 years, and before I'd ordered it, I went searching online to see how much fiber typically took to, for spinning a sweater, and I think it was on the Beth Smith's Spinning Loft blog, when she owned the Spinning Loft. She said 24 ounces is enough to spin for a sweater, and that's not the case. Last year I joined a Facebook spinning group for spinning with Tour de Fleece, and it didn't happen last year, but this year it did, and it's been really good for me actually. I feel really comfortable in there asking questions of people, and they're so friendly. In fact, one lady, she did the math for me on something without my asking, and I'm really grateful for that. But I asked them, well, how much wool do you spin for a sweater? And nobody uses 24 ounces to spin a sweater. The very minimum was 2 pounds. And I went, oh boy, this is not good. So, but in the meantime, in the middle of that, when I was spinning for Tour de Fleece this year, my husband saw me spinning and he said, you know, if you wanted to knit me a sweater, I would wear it. And I went, really? Really? You want me to knit you a sweater? And I was like, oh boy, oh boy. I might have gotten just a little bit excited, because this is the first thing that he's actually asked me to knit for him since I started knitting. And I've been knitting for at least 10 years. Maybe, well, no, 11. Maybe going on 12. 13 years? It's been a while. But I'm fairly confident that I've been spinning for 11 years. And I took up spinning maybe a couple years after I started knitting. And I remember that because my spinning wheel was my Valentine's Day gift for 2009. And I remember 2009 because I was the only person in my office that year. Long story, I'm not getting into it. But anyways, so after hearing people's input about how much wool they use for spinning for a sweater, before all that, I ordered fiber from paradisefibers.net. I had ordered 3 different colors and 2 pounds each, and because I couldn't decide which color I wanted to use for this sweater. And I thought, well, surely if, you know, 1.5 pounds wasn't enough, surely 2 pounds would be enough. Maybe. Well, so I ordered all the stuff, and then I started asking questions in this Facebook group and found out that I probably need more fiber. Shh. My husband doesn't know that I ordered more fiber. He will once he listens to this, but in the meantime, I went from 2 pounds of all this stuff. So I went back and ordered an additional 2 pounds, 4 ounces each of 2 of the colorways of the fiber that I ordered. I didn't get the third one because that one was out of stock. But, I mean, look at the size of this. This is a big bag, bigger than my head. 2 pounds. I have 2 of these and 1 smaller bag of this really nice fiber. It is gray Corriedale top, and this one I hadn't dug into, but let's see if I can get this out. If you can see color, it's seems to be off. But it's really soft. It's very nicely prepared, and I will be spinning that. Sorry, wool fumes. I'll be spinning this next month for it's not a competition, it's just an online thing, Spin Together, which will run October 6th through the 12th. This is something that a few people decided to pull together when it was announced that Spinzilla was not going to happen this year. And I was actually kind of looking forward to that after, kind of getting bitten by the spinning bug really hard. And I watched a ton of classes on Blueprint, JC Boggs and Amy King. If you haven't taken, their classes are really good on Blueprint. And if you're ever wondering on whether you should purchase the classes or not, you'll get a lot out of them. At least I think so. I mean, I really enjoyed them, and I think I am definitely a better spinner for it. If you could only choose one class, I would recommend the one by JC Boggs, the Spinning Worsted to Woolen, because she goes through all the different methods of spinning, and she's a really good teacher. She's really good. So I went through and spun all that, and then I was messaging with a knitter / spinning friend on Facebook, and she kind of enabled me because I was seeing all these gorgeous pictures of spindles in the group of people spinning, and I said, now I've had a drop spindle for years, but I was never really happy with what I was getting out of it. And of course, now that I've been spinning more and practicing on other drop spindles, I can go back to it and make something out of it that I'm really happy with. But anyways, I got recommendations from my friend, and I ended up ordering a drop spindle from Snyder Spindles, which he is a fellow Wisconsinite, so that was really nice. I felt good supporting a craftsman in my state. Look at that. I think roosters are fighting in the background. I'm just so pleased with it. It's nice. It took a while to get here. I blame the Postal Service, but nothing can be done about that. I have since learned that there seems to be a black hole in St. Paul, Minnesota, that things go and disappear in for a while. I haven't been able to spin much with this, even though I'd like to. I've been pretty busy with other things, but I keep my drop spindle, my supported Turkish spindle. I keep my Turkish spindle. It's the nerves, I tell you, for being in front of the camera again. Anyways, I keep that and a little bit of fiber in a nut container for traveling. That was one of the things that my friend did, and I said, hey, I want to do that too. And I don't have to worry about my spindle breaking. And that wasn't the only one I purchased. One of the types of drop spindles I was seeing actually ended up being created by the person who administers the Facebook group I joined. And that is, let's see, I posted pictures of this on the blog. I am so happy with the kind of yarn I get out of this one too. It's a aluminum chainmail drop spindle. Top whorl looks like a flower, and the fiber that I'm spinning is fiber I dyed myself, and it's just a wool superwash fiber. And I'm sure you can tell what I was going for. Let's see if I can get this without it blowing out. I told my mother-in-law when I was showing it to her, I said if I could, I would call this one Big Damn Sunset. And I feel that I'm very clever with that too. So that I'm carrying in a bag that I made myself a while back, and I decided it was too long, but I didn't want to just give it away or throw it away. And when I got the spindle, I realized, hey, it matches the spindle. How cool is that? So now it all lives in there. And let's see that. Oh, the other spinning thing that I'm working on, although I haven't touched my wheel in a while, except for last week when I decided to give it a spa night and take it apart and clean it and oil it and make her all pretty and dust free. I was practicing some of the things that I learned from the spinning classes, and I made myself a full bobbin of spun worsted, and I tend to bounce back and forth between short forward draw and short backward draw. I don't know how well. I had the penny in there so you could see how fine the yarn is, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I haven't spun that fine, that well in a really long time. And I always thought it was funny that I identify as a spinner and I hardly ever spin. But if I have pictures for anything and whatnot, it's always spinning, not so much knitting. But that will apparently be rectified. Okay, that is all for all that stuff. And I managed to blather at you for half an hour about that. I can't believe that. I'm glad I didn't have a lot on my show notes list. The next thing, I have not been doing a lot of reading this year. I purchased a subscription to Blueprint for 1 year, and I was trying to take advantage of that. And I originally started it with the intention to learn how to machine quilt and free motion quilt and all that kind of thing, since there's a lot of classes on there's a lot of people sharing their knowledge on YouTube, and it's kind of hard to sift and filter through all that to find what I'm looking for. So I thought I would get the Blueprint subscription and learn all I could about quilting from there. And there's been some really good classes on there. I don't know if I'm going to renew the subscription next year. There's only so much that I'm interested in learning for quilting. I feel I might have watched it all. Plus with this Blueprint subscription, you get 12 free classes that you can keep, and the ones that I really want, I have free through the Keep Forever thing, along with, I think I own all the weaving classes on there now too, so I can go back through and learn some techniques. I haven't been weaving the last month or so. I am still interested in learning more of the techniques, but right now I wanted to work on a couple other different things before going back to it. Because there's a lot of things for weaving. I mean, even just the basic stuff, you can do so much with it and then play with color and all that. And it's, I mean, you could make a career out of it, which I know some people have. So anyways, I haven't been doing much reading, and now with over the summer, I heard a lot of YouTubers over the summer when I was home with my son, and now I'm just kind of, my mind is screaming, read something. Don't read something for learning. Don't, just do something that'll just, make your brain not turn into gray mush. So I've been bouncing around with different books, book lists, and there's a few different podcasts that I started listening to again, which I think this is funny. I watch one knitting podcast right now. The other one that I was watching, the gal is on, she had a baby. I don't know if she's going to come back to recording, which is fine. Family comes first. But all the podcasts that I listen to, the audio ones, they're all book related. And even then, I decided I had to kind of cull through what it was that I wanted to listen to. And there's a few that I have left where they're discussing books, kind of digging down deep into them. They're like audio book clubs. Go read X amount of chapters and listen to them discuss it. And I always want to learn, I've been wanting to learn how to read more closely, so I'm getting a lot out of those. A couple weeks ago, the Well-Read Mom group, Well-Read Mom Book Club website, came out with their book list, and I was going through it, and the first one was a book called, I think, Wit. And I kind of read what it was about, and I thought, I don't know if this is something I really want to read, but, well, I'll request it from the library anyways, and if I don't like it, I'll just stop it. Well, I accidentally ordered the play of this book, and I had a good laugh and decided that the universe didn't want me to read this book because it sounds really depressing. I think the lady's like diagnosed with cancer or something, and I've never been one for reading books like that. So while I was listening to the different podcasts and thinking, well, what do I want to read? I forgot I had requested something else that is for a later month in the Well-Read Mom Book Club, and it came yesterday, and it is Gaudy Night by Dorothy Sayers. And I see that it's a mystery. A mystery written during, I guess, the golden age of when these detective stories were written. Probably the same time that Agatha Christie was writing. And I know I like at least some of her books, so I'll be starting that this weekend. That should be interesting. I'll use my, what little skills I've learned on reading closely and see if I can figure out who done it and pick up all the little clues and stuff. I think one of the podcasts I was listening to before I went on break from all of them this summer, they might have read this one and discussed it. So that will be, I'll have to go back, look, and see, or if it's for down the road, but I think this one will be fun. And I love mysteries, so I will let you know what I think later on down. And let's see, coffee talk, well, hot chocolate talk, nice and cold. I know I'm sure I've made a few flubs in the recording of this, and that was my nerves, because like I hadn't said earlier, it's been a while, and it takes a while to get used to talking to yourself, looking at yourself in the reflection or looking up at the light next to the camera. And it's going to take me a little while to get back to the swing of this. I've been kind of going back and forth whether I wanted to do aim for weekly again or do every other week, because I still like writing on the blog, even though that has slowed down a lot in the last year. A lot of things have kind of been chaotic for me in this last year, and I'm trying to get myself into order is basically what it comes down to. One of the other things that I was kind of working on, and I haven't tried this yet, so I don't know if it's going to work, but I figured out how to export the files from my video recordings as audio only files. And I have an account on Anchor.fm, I think it's called, and they are a free audio podcasting host. And my sister last year, she used this website when she was briefly recording a podcast of her own. And I know not everybody has time to sit down and watch a video for 45 minutes to an hour, and I seem to not be able to talk for less than 30 minutes at a time. So I thought this way, if I try doing the audio and the video and kind of split them up into two different feeds. And by the way, I got this idea from Good Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link, as they have a audio only podcast called Ear Biscuits, although I've never listened to it, so I don't know exactly what that is, but they make a point of saying that it's audio only. I'm going to give this a try. I don't know if I'll be able to tell if there are a lot of downloads or people listening to the audio only, but I also know that people can't use all their data to watch a YouTube podcast, because I know if you don't compress the file enough, it just kind of churns through all the data when you try to watch it from YouTube. And even though I do compress the files, they're still pretty big, and nobody wants to do that. And if you decide you want to listen to this, like driving in the car or something like that, you have the option of doing that as well. I'm going to give that a try. As far as I can tell so far, that it is not complicated to do. I don't think it should be a problem, because I know the Anchor host wants to make this super easy so people will use their website and use their programs and stuff. And anyways, just if you have any feedback for any of it, just let me know. You can drop a note for me on the blog in a comment. You can send me an email. I think I have an email at amniconstudio@yahoo.com, although I haven't checked it for a while because I haven't been recording. Anywho, with any luck, when I make the recordings, I'll be able to export that out and get both things up at the same time. I have faster internet at home, so I hopefully will be able to do all of this over the weekend. We'll see. I haven't given that part much thought through. I was kind of playing with a few other things and discovering that, hey, I can do this, and hey, I can do that, and it's not too terribly complicated. And I'm kind of tech dumb when it comes to some of this stuff, so I can feel that I'm starting to ramble. By the time this video is posted, I hopefully will have a blog post up that will update about the chickens and the rabbits and garden stuff, and we'll see. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient. And until next time, take care. Bye.